We have Keith, the Unknown Factor, and Stephen Broken Water Main joining us to have some League of Legends discussion.
Apparently your last name got changed from Mitchell to Factor.
That's all right.
It did. No, it's the Unknown Factor. That's what you
I
are.
like it better anyway.
That's a pretty good last name.
We're actually dropping Keith next week. It's just
You're
the
just
Unknown
going to be
Factor.
the Unknown
Yeah.
Factor.
Yeah, I expect you to come up with like a nice leotard wrestling style, and some interesting music for you. It'll be great. Don't worry about it.
I can do the K-Brad.
You could, the K-Brad. I'm not sure you can quite pull off the K-Brad.
I'm not sure the K-Brad should be called the K-Brad, though.
Yeah, it's more
Isn't
like
that, didn't someone else kind of use
No,
that whole thing
no,
before?
absolutely not.
It's an original K-Brad.
First one to ever do any of that.
Yep.
Yeah, but before we digress too much, I can't stand digression. It's my least favorite thing.
Yep.
I fucking hate digression. Let's get right into things. Today, we had a couple big European LCS matchups. Some huge ones, in fact. Impactful matches. Origin took on Giants, and once again, the perennial second-place team in the European LCS took on the perennial first-place team, H2K playing Fnatic. Surely the results will be different this time.
Surely.
Surely they would be. But first, Origin and Giants. We actually have some wonderful video taken straight from that great
Thriller
League
of
of
a
Legends
match.
thrilling match that it
Wow.
was to help explain
It's a little,
what happened here.
It's a little one-sided.
Yeah, to help kind of break down the full girth of the match. So obviously, Giants fell short.
Yeah.
Yes.
They did not quite come up on top.
Very,
You could
very
say
much
that.
short.
yeah. Just in brief, let's talk about why they weren't quite able to make it happen.
I will say first off that they lost in picks bans.
Yep.
Because
A bad start.
you not only did they lose in pick bans, but they killed themselves because when Origin and Xpeke locked in Diana.
What? Who?
Oh.
Diana?
Diana.
Diana?
It's pretty close.
Diana?
That was pretty
Pepanera
close.
responded with Yasuo, who I consider to be hard countered by Diana. So
It's funny that you would pick the hard counter champion into the hard counter rather than the other way around. It
Yeah.
seems like you should hard counter your
Pepanera
opponent.
with those new strategies.
Yeah.
New
At least
strats.
he didn't play ADC,
And
I
he
guess.
took TP mid as
Yeah.
well, which is an equally questionable decision.
Basically, he played solo queue.
Yeah, Pepe has always been like the shot caller for the team. And so when you put him into a losing matchup where he's locked down and can't do anything, and then say, hey, do crazy plays in other lanes when you have more map presence, turns out he's going to fall apart. And the rest of the team followed suit.
Shocking.
Yeah,
Really?
like literally everything. Just you saw them just completely not coordinated at all. They refused to use their summoners and died a bunch of times. And then later on, or actually really early on, when it was 2-2 or 2-1, there were 3 teleports bottom lane successively and sequentially that all just were 1v4s, 1v3s that died.
Yeah, that's sort of, I think that was almost the theme of EU LCS today, and we'll talk about it more in our Fnatic
Garbage teleports?
H2K. Well, just going in, teams just going in one
That's
by
true.
one.
That
It's
too.
It's just a lack of coordinated effort.
The
And
definition of insanity, doing the same thing, repeating a different result.
Yep.
Yeah. It works in LCS too.
yeah, and we saw at one point, top lane, Amazing had just set up a perfect counter gank, sort of a trap, and Rise got 2 early kills at the beginning of the game, and then that just sort of leads to pretty much the end of the game because
Rise is
Rise
the
takes
snowball
ahead.
effort. We actually
here-
have.
yeah, here we go.
Yeah, so what you don't
Just
see
ping one, I'm
is
just waiting
Amazing
for Rise to
hiding
extend.
in the Baron pit right there.
He's coming as well.
And
Oh,
he thinks
versus
that
two.
he's clear. He's got a pink ward there, but he doesn't realize he's already walked through several wards on the way there. So they have a perfect setup here. He thinks he's going to get ganked. He gets double counter ganked because Miffy's roamed all the way from the bottom lane.
I will say I don't like there's been a lot of Gragas's recently which have looked really shaky. I would probably put Giants as Frederick on number 3, number 2, number 1 of this Gragas should not be playing Gragas.
Yep. It's funny because I think someone here picked Giants Gaming to go to Worlds.
Oh, huh.
Yeah.
Who was that?
I think someone else picked Origin Gaming going to Worlds, which would have been me, and you actually picked Giants, and that's funny because Giants look like garbage.
What can
and
I
Origin
say?
Looked really good.
I'm a sucker for long shots, but I thought Giants had a good chance. If they played the way they'd played against Fnatic, against Origin would have been stomped. But instead, they played whatever this
But
was.
is that style of play where you get an early lead and then you throw it away to the other
Yes.
team?
Yes.
Okay. So that would have beaten Origin.
Yes.
It would have worked better than what they did this time, actually,
Yeah.
today. It would have- it
You
would have
just
been
throw
improvement.
from the
Yes.
beginning.
Would have been several times better than what they did today.
Everyone at home, there's going to be a constant theme throughout the show, which is that predictions that I make are better than predictions that Keith makes. So just keep a note for that.
Keep an eye on it.
You know, just as we talk, I mean, it's a constant
Just a better
theme.
human
Something
being.
to watch
in every
develop
way,
as the
really.
show goes along.
Yeah. You'll
developing
see it
something.
coming again.
So,
But moving on to the H2K Fnatic game.
the big game, the game of the week.
The game.
The game of the second half of the split, really. Like, it's the team versus the second team.
Yeah, so we talked about the only chances we thought someone had to beat Fnatic were a cheese pick, which we saw last week with Giants Gaming and AP Ezreal Runeglaive, and
Didn't work.
a bad level 1,
Didn't win.
which, if we have the clip, we can roll it.
Yeah, happened today and did not turn out very well.
And unfortunate. We may get that. But as we get into that. Oh, here it is.
Here we go. So, a bad level 1.
Tribush
So here we
will
have
from
Fnatic
H2K. Is
making
there
their
no
way
risk? Will spot
into the
all of
H2K
them.
jungle.
How
Jace is just standing in mid for some reason by
Remember
himself,
H2K
not with the team, so
just
that's an
waiting in the
interesting
bush.
decision.
Fnatic is no way
And then
off.
Rainover
They might walk straight
decides that
into
he's
them.
going to
See how many
path his
members
way
are
to
around.
the other side.
Only Jan and then
Where's the team
Rua
going?
the
Oh,
other
I'm
side.
going the opposite
might see a
way.
collapse on Rainover.
Rainover just hanging out by
Rainover's in
himself.
trouble.
There's
He
one
gives
kill.
that first
Oh,
blood
and then Yellow
to
Star is
only
going to
one
get caught as
Liznov.
well
Might not be over
for a
yet.
second
Looney's
kill.
trying to escape
So we said this is
Saving
the
up
only
energy.
chance
Yellow
that
Star
Fnatic has
poised
to
into
lose,
pulverize.
we thought,
Lulex
because
has
they were just
flashed
better
over
than
the wall.
everyone
Yellow
else.
Star
A
back
cheese
in
pick,
trouble.
which we saw
Top
last
not gonna
week,
be needed.
or
Didn't lose to that.
a bad level
Sits around
1,
for the level
which
one
we just
first
saw
check.
this week.
Tribush
Didn't lose to that.
And we
And
also
they
had
won.
Fnatic. We also had Fnatic pick a cheese pick that I didn't think worked out for them, and they still won despite that.
Specify that for us, Keith.
Today's theme, the theme of the Fnatic game today was Fnatic is still Fnatic even with Rainover playing Rengar. Did not go so well. for
Rengar,
him.
keep that champion in mind for later in the show, by the way.
When we're talking about
a great
bad champion.
a great example of his tremendous use here with
Absolutely.
Rainover
Well-
not quite getting there.
We'll talk about it
You,
later.
you spoke too soon, Stephen, with your boast there. But yes,
But judge on one performance.
I will actually. I just did.
That's a pretty accurate
so
way
yeah,
to go
how
about
did
it.
Fnatic come back in this game after a bad level 1?
Oh my
obviously,
God!
display?
Fnatic came back by not doing anything stupid. They didn't they didn't fall apart. They kept their shot calling up. They had decent positioning, and then when H2K overextended and Lulex got in a bad position on
Enough
Gragas,
smoke from this chase, from this core.
terrible things happened.
Get into proper fights yet. They
Ragno
might
got
be
the
able to get a pick on Lulex, though.
got the pick and then blocked the body slam out.
And we're talking about people going in one by one. That's the theme of this clip.
Again, Lucian.
First we saw
Lucian continuing the proud tradition of the 0% win rate.
Yeah.
Contributes nothing to this team fight, as Odoamne, H2K's carry,
Hey,
gets focused.
he pressed R.
That is true, and he also flashed over a wall so he could dive.
That was a really, really good play.
Could die more stylishly.
By
Sven Skaren
By
playing
Jace.
playing Ryu.
Playing
Street Fighter 5
For
play.
Fnatic, yet
Yes,
the way they didn't get
yes.
to
So
see them
yes,
really
it was
use
nice
it
play
so
by Jace,
far.
not nice
Yeah.
play by Lucian.
An interesting play, a build by Jace actually, when Infinity Edge this game, which was a thing. So maybe that's something we'll be seeing from Jace's more often.
They
But
did win. Fnatic
Every
trend setting,
every
perhaps?
time I've seen Jace be played, he just looks broken.
Yeah,
But
he
like
does-
for some reason we don't see him being
Well-
played more often.
I guess it's because of the skill cap, and also, and I guess it shouldn't be a problem because of the LCS. But at the same time, he is like a really specific champion because of the way his EQ combo works. You have to be set up in a certain order in your like team composition, and then also like outside of the Power 8 combo, you don't have a whole lot of damage unless you put yourself at risk, and you don't have a lot of room to build.
You have a lot of.
You don't have a lot of
damage
room to
with Jace.
build tanky items, but you're playing a champion that needs to do sustained damage up close in hammer form.
Yeah.
So it causes a lot of problems
was-
outside of acceleration.
There was
phase.
actually several times in this game where I saw Jace line up an EQ combo, an accelerated shock blast, and the frontline members of H2K would purposely dodge out of the way and let the back line get hit by
It's
those
those
Jace
reflexes.
EQ combos.
I'm just hung up on the Lucian pick because,
Yeah,
like, I
it's
understand
been so
you want to save support.
overwhelming.
You want to save support, or a save 80 carry, so that Shen support can go throughout the map and make a bunch of plays, whatever. Why Lucian? There are 3 or 4 80 carries in my mind, Caitlyn being one. maybe even I would have chosen an immobile AD carry over Lucian, just because
Especially
Lucian's so
if you have
underwhelming
Shen.
right now.
Yeah.
It's nostalgia, I think.
I understand that you want to go back to the glory days,
The good
back
old
when
days.
Lucian was good, but you can't.
He's
Those
just-
days are
yeah,
gone.
he's
You
just
you
not
literally
strong.
can't actually. He has 0%. You literally cannot go back to those days. There's no good days to split. There's nothing. There's not a single good Lucian day.
There's the same amount of good days on Lucian as the number of wins.
Yes, the same number of wins as Quinn has his ADC or Misfortune in LCS to split.
Dang.
Lucian
that
has
hurts.
equaled Quinn and Misfortune in the bottom lane in the LCS.
The fact that I'm seriously considering that Quinn may be better suited for a Shen support lane than Lucian
in fact,
says
I think,
volumes
I think
about.
Quinn and Misfortune actually have the advantage over Lucian right now because they don't have any losses.
That's
Yeah,
true.
I don't
That's
think we've
true.
seen any Quinn.
They're
or
unknown
Misfortune.
factors.
Yeah, they
As
could.
an unknown factor myself.
Yes, you should know. You have personal
Yeah,
experience with
exactly.
this type of thing. So yeah, I think Lucian's in a tough. I guess we should mention here what could Riot do to give Lucian a little bump, just a little.
Well, the
boost.
problem is that his passive makes him either completely broken or completely useless. So I feel like what you need to do.
It's the Elise quandary. If
Yeah.
you change it and make it good, it's just too good.
And
Yeah.
he's just fluttering on the edge of useless, but if you gave him 30, 40 more damage for that, then he would be probably overpowered
I
again.
think his E is one of the most poorly designed abilities in the
Yeah,
entire
like
game.
that E and that
It is
passive don't go well together at
literally-
all.
The E is literally just a dash. Like, it does nothing else. All it does is move. Like, there's no other character who
Oh, I
has
have-
an ability
I have
that
the
is,
opposite problem.
just a dash.
I have the opposite problem, because first of all, it removes slows. And
No,
second,
it doesn't. It doesn't anymore.
It doesn't? Oh,
No, no,
that's
no.
right, it doesn't.
It used to.
But I have the opposite problem with it, which is that because of his passive, and because it lowers cooldown with the passive stacks, did they get rid of that too?
No, it
No, they
does,
didn't.
but I just think it's...
This is where I show that I haven't played Lucian in forever.
Like, Lucian is just, not an exciting character.
LCS players should take your example, Keith, and not play Lucian.
They would be better served.
They'd be better served
if they
if
had
they
my
followed
level
you,
of
yes.
knowledge about Lucian. They would
Yes.
They would have played a better. H2K would have played
We
a better
can't play
game.
him. We don't are familiar with the latest build. Oh, good. You shouldn't be familiar with the latest build. It's a shitty champion right now.
Yep. The problem with Lucian is that he doesn't do any damage in team fights, because he can't do any damage to tanky targets. And the problem is, if you try to make his spells do more damage, then he just becomes even more of a lane bully.
Is
an
there a
early
support?
mid-game
that-
power
is
spike.
there a support that you could put with him that could make him slightly more viable?
Braum is the most you can get just because of the passive, the passive spam. But
Yeah,
even then,
and
you're outclassed.
maybe Nunu jungle, but if you're gonna play Nunu jungle, there's just so many better people to put in the AD carry role than Lucian.
Yeah, when you have to build your team around making a bad meta champion better,
Yeah.
it's usually a good sign to just pick someone else.
Yep.
That's the issue, I think, here.
It hurts because I used to
does.
main the guy back when he was oppressive. But I mean, when an early mid-game power spike AD carry gets his early game completely destroyed because they're trying to make him less oppressive, then he becomes not a champion.
Well, I think also a big problem is that AD carries in general are just kind of not really that good right now.
Well, in the tank meta, we're deep in the tank meta, but I think AD carries still have that purpose as a late game scaling. I can win a team fight if you don't focus me.
But we don't really. I mean, for people that have played League of Legends for a long time, back in, I don't know, Season 2 or Season 3, that was the point of a late game team fight. It was protect the AD carry. Whoever can kill the other team's AD first wins. But nowadays, the biggest damage dealers late game are usually mid laners. If you think about a late game team fight that has a Corki or a Sivir and an Azir, the Azir is going to do way more damage,
Or
even consistently.
A Victor I-beam just mowing through
Yeah,
the team.
exactly.
That's
I
the
figure
damage.
I think that right now that's a bad example because a lot of the AD carries that are in meta are early mid game power spike. Sivir's not a late game
Yeah,
hyper carry.
that's because there aren't any decent hyper carries. Even Vayne is not that good.
Right, but
late
most
game.
mid laners that are good right now are those hyper carries. So
Yeah, I know, but that's just what I'm saying. If you look at the top 80 carries right now, they're not people who do damage. They're utility. It's
I wouldn't say that means that
Kalista.
AD carries are 80 carries aren't good right now. It's just that means that the 80 carries that
I
are
think
good
it
right
does.
now, the 80 carries that are good right now aren't late game hyper carries.
No, there's who is a late game hyper carry 80 carry anymore?
I mean, Jinx is okay, maybe?
Yeah,
Jinx is
I wouldn't play her competitively, but she's good.
I mean, I would play Jinx competitively.
She's
I
been
think
played.
She's fine,
She's
yeah.
in LCS.
She's been played, but she has problems, especially in a tank meta where the entire point of the team is stack as many forms of initiation and CC as we can, and then just run at the enemy team. when you have a champion without an escape, with one form of CC that requires a startup time, and then no form of mitigation for CC, then you're basically screwed.
Caitlyn has that tank shredding now.
That's true. Maybe we'll see it. The end of the tank meta.
Yeah, I'm just getting tired of like whatever the strong AD carry is getting nerfed, and then it doesn't seem like
Callista
They don't
right
buff a
now.
whole-
yeah,
lot
like
of people.
Callista's about to get nerfed, and then it's like who? Okay, you have Sivir, and the reason why you pick Sivir has nothing to do with Sivir's abilities
It's
as AD carry.
because you let the team in.
Yeah, and exactly. It's the same thing with Callista to some extent. Like, Callista does good damage, okay, but like the reason why you pick Callista, a big reason is because of her ult and also because of Rend being able to like secure neutral objectives. So like, I just think AD carries in general are just like in a really weak spot right now. And I don't know, I think it's pretty lame because I'm tired of seeing tank meta, and it's been almost an entire season now of like dominated by, I don't know, top lane. It's getting more dominated by mid lane now, but
I mean,
like,
I'm glad to see they're adding more utility to AD carries. That's the kind of AD carry that we want, because I enjoy like playing those types of AD carries, the ones that do things for other people and aren't just Twitch. But like I would enjoy like a good old Cogma.
yeah, but you should be able to like build a team composition around a carry right now.
That's true.
I think like Jinx maybe is the only champion that really has that potential, and like maybe Kog'Maw to some extent. Like we're seeing
I don't
Kog'Maw.
think. Yeah.
We're actually seeing Kog'Maw getting picked more in other
Yeah,
regions
I've seen him bottom
as
lane
AD carry.
in Kree, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean I think that's a potential, but I don't know. I would like to see like a movement by Riot just to like boost AD carries in general. Like I don't know. To me, Callista is not an overpowered champion. She's just a power pick because every other AD carry is like pretty crappy right now.
Maybe we can start like a Save the AD Carries donation fund.
Yeah, I'm all for it.
I do want to mention that Unicorns also won today.
They did.
My heart goes
Although-
out to the Unicorns.
although
They
they
beat
beat
Wolves.
Copenhagen Wolves.
Yeah, they did beat Copenhagen Wolves. But still, I'll take it. At this point, remember, Unicorns last split were known for losing to the worst teams and beating the best team. So to beat the worst team is a big thing actually for Unicorns. Now they can beat the best teams as well and make a run to the playoffs and then get Worlds like I said they would. So
You know who also won again today?
Who's that?
That was actually not SK Gaming. That was actually Gambit Gaming, the
Yeah,
team that I
Gambit-
thought was going to be doing
Gambit
well.
did in fact. Oh, it's that pattern
Doing
again.
well, building up steam towards the playoffs,
Actually
and
beat
I think that they
SK.
look like one of the better teams in the league right now.
Gambit and Unicorns both 6 and 7, tied at like the middle of the table.
Yep.
I
Upper
will
middle
say
of the
I'm
table.
less and less impressed by the mid-card teams. So like Gambit could make a serious run.
Yeah, I
for-
mean, Gambit started really, really bad. What, they started like 2 and 5,
It would
2
be
and 6
amusing
or
in
something.
some way if like we ended up having in the playoffs a deep run from Unicorns and Gambit both after those teams had struggled so much of the split. We talked about the struggle so much, and then ended up having a really good playoffs.
Yeah, but the difference is that Unicorn started off really well, and then now they're like, they played poorly for a long time, and now they're like starting to balance out.
And
I think
Gambit had
Gambit
an
is like really
excuse.
picking up steam. I mean,
they had an excuse
out of their
and, like,
last
forgiven.
out of their
and-
last 6 games, I think they probably won 4 of them or so.
And they look like they're working together a little bit better.
You'd hope so.
Yeah.
Over
Well, they got
time.
a new coach too, so
That could make an impact.
things
those-
are looking up.
doing those
for-
friendship exercises.
For my
Yeah.
predictions, speaking of
All they have to do now, I think, is bring in Crepo, and it'll be good.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's
yeah,
the secret.
That's the dream.
Yeah.
Another team that actually is doing well, actually on a 3-game win streak right now, would be Team Impulse, which is a team that I predicted.
We'll get to Team Impulse. Don't get too eager, Steve.
Yeah,
I know
come on.
you want to talk about Tip. I know you do.
I just want to
because-
talk about how
I know you
I'm
wanna
so much
prove-
better
I know you wanna
than Keith
prove yourself,
at
right.
I
analysis.
know. I know you're feeling that right now. You're feeling the chip right now. But
I'm feeling myself.
We'll get there.
I don't know where this came from.
We'll
I
get
never
there.
claimed to be, I never claimed to be a better analyst than the god, the one, the only.
Yeah, I know, but like
broken water.
up until now, like all my predictions have looked like crap, and then it's just like now it's starting to turn the corner where like my predictions are like actually starting to take flight, so I can.
How
Like,
big of you?
You know what it is, Steven? It's a CLG. You're gonna get your predictions like back up a little bit, and by the time playoffs come around, nothing. Just
Do
fuck.
well in
Yeah, you're
second
right.
half of the
Yeah.
split to give fans hope.
You're just getting some hope, so you can have it deflated.
I'm just trying to like take CLG out of my mind completely. I've
see.
spent 0 time thinking about them this week.
Oh, we won't spend too much time talking about him actually, so that's fine. Talking about one more game tomorrow, Friday. Don't miss this. Fnatic versus Origin, the other number 2 team. I guess now the actual number 2. HGK's fallen behind Origin in the standings.
Yeah.
HGK now 9 and 4, I believe. Yes, and Origin 10 and 3. Of course, Fnatic still going for the dream, the undefeated dream.
dream.
We talked about a off meta pick, like a surprise pick, or a level 1 just flattening of the team. We've seen both things by opponents that have not worked. What is there left to do? What can Origin do against Fnatic? I'm not sure. I'm out of ideas, honestly, for Origin.
Origin did look really good today. And Peke is the kind of person, I think, that could put a team on his back and beat Fnatic.
I was going to say, like, maybe a Peke carry game.
Yeah,
Counter-
like Peke just
counterpoint.
goes
Just going
insane.
full Bjergsen.
Although that's not really Peke's style this season at all. He's been playing the more like scaling into late game carries and stuff.
Counterpoint, Giants were playing like hot garbage, and Fnatic, like Reignover went 1-5, and not only did not go on tilt, went around to make good picks for his team. Like Fnatic is proven that they are flexible and do not break under pressure, and Origin has not, like, that wasn't like a wow, Origin are so good.
Well, that's one of the biggest
that
issues.
That was the Giants is really
one of the
really
biggest
bad.
issues against Fnatic is that they just don't give a shit. Like, they're just going to play their game. And if they can be down 6-1 and it doesn't matter, they're going to play like Fnatic, and it's still going to be very difficult to beat them, even if you have an advantage. And you're going to feel pressure on you. So, like, the pressure is actually on you as you do better than them in the early game, and just at any part of the game, really. They're just playing their game and knowing they're better than you, and they're probably going to win. If they don't win, what's the worst that could happen? They finish 17-1 for the split. Oh,
Yeah.
boo fucking who, you know? So it's the pressure's all on you against this team, and they're so good and probably better than you in every way. It's a difficult situation to
That
approach
being
them.
said, however, Fnatic has looked extremely human the last two games that they played. One against HTK and one against Giants. And so it's not like they look like some immune god that I feel like they sort of did the first half of the split. I mean, the first half of the split, they just put everyone to bed.
I mean,
but
they
this
definitely-
time it's been struggles at least. I mean, we've seen them come out as clearly the better team, which is what we expect from Fnatic because they are the better team. But they haven't looked unbeatable or like some team, insurmountable. It's like they have looked very human. So I think there is not a good chance, but a chance nonetheless for Origin to beat Fnatic, but it's just going to be difficult.
So is the thought that for Origin to win, maybe Febiven just feeds Peke and move on from
Maybe,
there?
yeah.
I think the thought for
Something like
Origin to
that.
win is that they've, like, Fnatic pulls out a more BM pick than Rengar jungle and loses.
There's nothing BM about Rengar jungle.
I'm trying to think of like a really BM, like a Shaco, I guess they could
Like
play.
Soraka support, like just something like, okay, that doesn't work and we can punish you for that.
I like Soraka support. Not
Yeah.
in the LCS necessarily. Soraka support and Shaco jungle, and then play like, I don't know,
Thresh ADC,
Wukong top, and play.
Shyvana.
You got to play actual lane champions. Play like Twitch with Soraka.
My
bottom
point is,
lane.
like, if Fnatic
God,
would
that
lock
sounds-
in,
That is the most gankable lane I've ever
Yeah,
heard of in my
Soraka.
if
entire
Fnatic
life.
picks the Soraka support or like the Vel'Koz mid, something that like
Yeah, okay.
Origin can really say, all right,
If-
we can destroy you for that.
If Fnatic pulls out the dank memes and epic trolls Origin,
Fnatic-
They did Rengar jungle. I'm sorry if you think it's viable, that's fine.
there's nothing
but
wrong with Rengar jungle.
If Fnatic,
I'm just throwing
if
that out
Fnatic
there.
purposefully trolls Origin, the second place team in the league, they might lose.
I'm just saying they could pull a Samsung White. Anyone can.
We're not really
not immune.
stretching it. Okay, so
Anyways.
basically, we don't expect
Moving
Fnatic to
on.
lose. Yeah, we can't really say much
It's
more
possible
about that.
though.
That's the only way I see because like he said, we pretty much everything went right for H2K until Fnatic was the
Well,
better team.
H2K lost this game because they left the door open for Fnatic though. I mean, H2K
Right,
should
well,
have won this
Origin-
game.
Origin played perfectly.
Okay, they don't have to play perfectly, but like H2K, Fnatic didn't win this game in my mind. H2K lost this game because if H2K just plays smart and they play to the strengths of their team comp, they absolutely win the game. But like the reason why Fnatic wins is because H2K leaves the door open and Fnatic just like busts through it.
Right. So is like Origin going to play in such a way that leaves no mistakes for Fnatic?
I think
to
it's
punish?
possible.
I think we're left here mostly to broad predictions and hyperbole.
That's true.
So we'll have to wait and see what happens with Fnatic and Origin in the second split annual Fnatic Gold versus Fnatic Black matchup that
Yep.
we come to so treasure here on the loadout. Moving on now. You mentioned Team Impulse.
Yes.
Steven. They play Dignitas, two teams who have surprised in different ways.
Dignitas.
Team Impulse has surprised with being shitty at times and then kind of improving from there.
Yep.
Dignitas surprised by playing pretty well and then kind of looking shitty as of late. So two opposite trending directions. What is our thought on the specifics of this matchup right here as Tip tries to solidify their place as being again the contender in the LCS?
I mean, I think all directions point towards TIP taking this as a victory.
Which means Dig will probably win.
No, that's not true at all.
It kind of feels that way.
I mean, Dig has looked really, really not that good
That's true.
at all
It is
recently.
true. Yeah, very
and
true.
TIP is actually on a 3-game win streak.
Yeah.
Dig's
And-
been struggling against bad teams, and they also, I mean, I would say, Dignitas has better players. Dignitas has, like, in my mind, a better chance to, outplay the opponent. But then this is the team that gave TDK their only win. So, like, it's true that TDK looked good, but the point still remains that, like, this is a team that has been wildly fluctuating and is known for collapsing in the second half of splits.
Yeah, and we've seen some really, like, out of character, but in character at the same time from Dignitas. And what I mean by that is it's out of character for the way that they played the first half of the split, but it's very much in character for the way that they've played every other split. We've seen, like, Kiwi Kid get caught out. I think he's really not looked good recently, which is a shame.
He talked about how the difference for Dignitas was that he was playing better the first half of the split, and now he's kind of getting cut out and not looking quite as good, and Dignitas is losing again. No coincidence, perhaps.
Yep. And I mean, they really looked to him to, like, sort of be the backbone for the first half. Him and Gamsu both really stepped up their game, and we just haven't really been able to see them make the sort of plays that we expected Dignitas to do after their first half. And also, Helios' shot calling has not looked as strong as we initially had raved about. After that first week, they went 2-0, and they made some really, really good plays, and we thought that, this was the future of Dignitas. But we've seen him sort of start to falter and looked more like his Winter Fox days, I suppose. So, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. I think that Impulse has been looking really strong. We've heard talks about them possibly replacing Adrian, which is something that, maybe is in the works. So they're, I think, have the right mindset. They're looking towards Worlds. They're not looking towards the North American split. And I think that all things are pointing in the right direction for Impulse to make a strong run at the end of the season.
We'll see. I think Team Impulse is always going to be in danger because Rush is so eager to suicide at times. Just if he gets off to a 0-3 start, that's a bad thing for Team Impulse. I mean,
if Rush wants to die, no one can stop it.
If Shifter can get the better of Xiao Zhao in the mid lane, and Xiao Zhao has not had a great split thus far.
He's looked better, though.
Yeah, that's
the
one
thing. When I think of, like, Apollo and Adrian versus Kiwi Kid and Core JJ, I think that's a matchup that Dignitas wins. And then I go to mid lane, and I think Shifter has a pretty good chance. And we go to top lane, and it's Gamsu. Like, he's been doing work. So all their lanes should win, and then it's like, but they don't. They have trouble against, like, Team 8. How are they gonna? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's a big, I think, deciding game for Dignitas. How the split's going to go for them from here on out. Are they going to fall down to like a 6th spot in the playoffs, or are they going to stay up around the top half of the table and really look at least somewhat strong?
Thankfully, at this point, the playoff teams, I feel, are pretty much locked in. I mean, there's a pretty big gap between the top 6 and the bottom 4. The highest ranked team in the bottom 4 is, like, Team Enemy, who's like 4-8.
Yeah, Enemy and Team 8 are both 4-8.
Yeah. And the lowest place out of the top 6 is 7-5.
CLG and Impulse, by the way.
Yeah, of course. So at this point, it's very much about preparing for the playoffs. All the teams in the top 6 pretty much know that they're in the playoffs. They're trying to maneuver for seeding. It's very important to get top 2.
Still possible you could slip out if you just go on like a 4-game losing streak. Not that any of these teams we just mentioned could go on a 4-game losing streak.
Exactly. So
yeah.
It's not, look, there's no way that any team that's other than Dignitas, CLG, Team Liquid, Gravity, TSM, and
so here on the loadout,
the
Steven
16.
guarantees CLG will not miss the playoffs no matter what happens.
Oh no, there's no way CLG missed the playoffs.
Just putting it out there. Yeah. What was the record?
I'm just scared that.
Were they 7-1? Was that the record before?
Yeah, they're on a 4-game losing streak.
Okay, so they couldn't lose 4 in a row. We just clarified that.
No, I think they very much could lose 4 in a row, but I think there's no way in hell Enemy, Cloud9, or Team 8 or TDK for sure
TDK
goes on a
not going
4-game plus win streak.
You never know.
We'll find
Except
out.
sometimes you know.
We'll find out. We'll find out soon. Speaking of Cloud9, so they have the new comp now. Well, the new player comp, I guess I should say, with High in the Jungle, as we all predicted.
Yep,
Perhaps High in the Jungle for them.
what everybody
With
wants.
Elimination still holding down the bottom lane with Sneaky. We have Balls and.
Although there were
Incarnation.
some grumblings this week about Sneaky duo queuing with Meteos bottom lane.
I think we're going to see grumblings from Cloud9 camp through the year. Like, this is not going to be a temporary. We're going to see grumblings.
There's
a lot of it.
no way.
This is not a stable situation.
No, I don't think so.
There is no way that Meteos does not play for someone after the season.
He's made that pretty clear himself. He said,
Yep.
like, if anyone wants me to play for them, guys, I'm just saying, I'm out there.
No,
I'll play.
but even maybe for C9. So there's even a chance that C9, like if C9 goes to the relegations, I think there's zero chance that if Meteos is still on C9's roster, that he doesn't play for them in relegations. Like, this is not their long-term 5. This is never going to be their long-term 5.
I would hope High's not the long-term jungle solution.
He's not.
Yeah, it seems like we're probably going to see High step away from the team again. Probably elimination, stepping down from support. Of course, I wanted that same thing to happen this offseason and didn't happen. So maybe he's the eternal Cloud9 support.
I wanted it to happen
never
all
leave.
season.
I mean,
He will never
a lot of
leave.
C9 is looking really shaky right now, and
Yeah.
if they got relegated, they would definitely.
Balls doesn't look great, but he's just
apart.
been kind of a background character for the team because the incarnation story is so big, because eliminations, people wanting to retire, and because we have obviously the media situation now. So we'll see. Any chance this team can win against Gravity or Dignitas?
I think they have a chance against Dignitas. I'm not so sure about Gravity just because of how consistent they've looked.
Gravity now the number 1 team in
Yep.
ALCS. Can Cloud9
Yeah.
beat? Cloud9 is 9th place, Gravity Gaming in 1st place.
You know what's really scary, though? You know who's in 3rd place right now? That would be, I'm pretty sure it's a tie with Team Liquid. And you know who's in 6th place right now? That would be CounterLogic Gaming. And that would mean that CLG would play Team Liquid in the first round of the playoffs. Which is not a good look for CLG fans worldwide.
They might. They could just if they're really guaranteed to make the playoffs, they should just have their schedule from here on out made so that they can dodge Liquid in the first round.
Yeah.
Play anyone other than Liquid. Play Dig.
Can we,
play Tip. Play Gravity.
I would like to bring up a point right now because I think it'll become an
Please.
issue.
Any point.
So the way that the seeding works in the LCS playoffs is that the first place team gets a bye, the second place team gets a bye, and then the first place team plays the winner of the 3rd place and the 6th place team. Okay? So this is more important in Europe than it is in North America, but I still think it's important in North America. If you are hold on, wait, I'm sorry, that's incorrect. So the first place team plays the winner of the 4th and the 5th place team. So if you're the 5th place team, there's a possible chance that you try to intentionally throw your game and get in 6th place so that you can then avoid the first seed in the next round.
I don't think that's like.
But it depends on who the first seed even is. Would you
Well,
rather avoid?
in Europe, it's Fnatic. Absolutely.
Right, like in Europe, it'd be more of a problem because it's like the difference between
Yeah,
Gravity and
that's
TSM
what
isn't
that's what I'm
enough
saying.
for
That's
you.
what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
So I think
because
it's more of a problem in Europe.
I think you don't want to play TSM, but you don't know if TSM is going to finish 1st or 2nd.
Right.
That's the thing.
But like in Europe, this could become a real problem. Like we could legitimately see people throw games.
I believe it. I mean, you don't want to play Fnatic in the next round. That's
Keep your eye out,
pretty
Nick
simple.
Allen.
And the thing is, you get points based on the final standings in the playoffs.
Exactly. So it matters.
Yeah, you're
It
actually,
matters.
You could gain points and go to Worlds because you dodge Fnatic
Exactly.
in the next round.
Which is why like this system is like broken. And so like there needs to be I think you absolutely need to like I don't know. This can't be the way that it is.
It's difficult to solve that. That the same kind of thing exists in professional sports, traditional sports.
Well, in the NFL, they reseed after the first round.
I mean, there comes a point where it's like it should just be random, but then that would cause its own problems.
No, see, because in the NFL, they reseed after the first round. So the first place team always plays the lowest ranked seed. So if the number 6 seed, it's the same exact setup.
I'm familiar,
But
yes.
but if the number 6 seed upsets the number 3 seed, they'll always play the first place team. So it's never in your benefit, assuming that you think the first place team is better than the second place team. It's never in your benefit to like throw and get a worse position. So then I think that they need to implement a same sort of scenario.
It also depends because, again, in the ALCS, I think if Gravity finishes above TSM, teams would still rather play Gravity in the playoffs. I feel pretty confident about that. You don't want to play TSM in the playoffs.
In a Fnatic situation, like I think that would be better, but it seems like that would be a good amount of change for what is essentially a 1 in a million because
I don't know if it's one in
even
a
if you're
million.
if you
Oh,
are
I think it's very much a chance.
Here's the thing: if you're the 5th place team, are you gonna say, "All right, we need to go to Worlds, and we need to make a showing"? so what we're going to do is lose to a team, or like intentionally lose so that we don't have to play our competitor at Worlds.
Well, it becomes
Is
tricky.
just going to Worlds enough for you?
Yes,
It
yes,
becomes-
it is.
it is a
For
big
all
thing.
of these teams, it's
a
enough.
big thing to go to World. It becomes tricky though because you have to guarantee winning games. You don't intentionally lose to get the right seeding. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on there. We can talk about this for a while, so we won't. We'll move on. But
Okay,
it
I'm
is-
just
it is
I'm
saying-
sorry, I'm ignorant about like, you know,
and
the
it is-
honor of getting to Worlds.
There should
'cause-
never, ever be a situation where a team, it's in their best interest to lose a game. As soon as that happens, the integrity of the system has been compromised. And it's something that Riot needs to look at, and I think it's something that they overlooked. And I very much think there's a chance in week 9 in Europe that we see maybe Unicorns, maybe Gambit, one of those teams throw a match intentionally, or throw a match to end up having Fnatic.
Believe me, Stephen, we've
dodge
had,
Fnatic.
if you watched the first half of the show today, we've had plenty of suggestions for Riot between Richard
Oh, yeah.
and now some playoff discussions. So
Anyways, just
I'm-
something to keep your eyes out.
I'm sure that Riot Games will be watching and appreciating our suggestions for them.
They love our.
I know that
They
very
love
much.
the Daily Dot.
Team Solo Mid, speaking about them, as I just did, I mentioned that even though they finished second, they're still, in my opinion, the strongest team in the region. I think you don't want to play them in the playoffs. They're the team you want to avoid. I feel like they're kind of treading water at this point. They're 9-3. You know, they're just doing TSM things and getting to the playoffs. I don't know if it's really good or bad. I mean, it's good they're good enough to do that and still be the first place team in the split. It's probably bad that they need to do more experimental things, I think, as they did in the spring split to prepare for Worlds. What's your feeling on TSM and I guess specifically the matchup with Team Liquid coming up on, I think, Saturday?
Well, here, you want to go?
I don't have a whole lot of hope for Team Liquid just because, like, Bjergsen, even on autopilot, I think can dismantle most of their team.
Sunday, by the way. Sunday is this match.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to be honest, Team Liquid's been like very underwhelming in my
Yeah,
opinion.
they've been having a couple problems.
They've played
lately.
well against the bottom teams, and they haven't yet played well against the
Well,
top
they're
teams.
like TSM in a way that they're kind of just doing Team Liquid things. They're treading water. They're getting by. You know, they're
Yeah,
playing
but
well
they're
enough to
doing
stay in
it
the top
like
half.
not quite at the same rate as TSM. So if you think about
we
TSM,
wouldn't expect, I think, Team Liquid to play quite as well as TSM.
well, a lot of people thought Team Liquid was the choice for this split, and for a long time they were in first place, right, tied with CLG.
They had some
and
movement.
I
then
think it comes to like
How'd that work out?
I think
Yeah,
it comes to like
exactly.
they don't feel the need to try they don't feel the need to try things at this point, or like, you know, let's get desperate and try to move our way up, because they've pretty much, like you said, they actually have secured their space no matter what, and I think they're just trying to.
TSM.
you're talking
Yeah.
about TSM right now. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I still feel like experimenting would be good
But it's the
because
same
they
kind of
need.
with Team Liquid. Like, there's not a lot of situations in which they don't end up in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so it
really
feels
for
just
all
like,
of the
okay, well,
top
we can
six.
just sit here and, you know, Piglet will do whatever, and
But I don't think
we'll
Liquid,
win sometimes.
I don't think Liquid can feel quite the security TSM does because TSM knows they can potentially beat anyone in the world. Like they have that potential at very least. I mean, they rolled CJ Entus. You know, they rolled. They didn't roll, but they beat Flash Wolves in the series. They rolled World Elite when WE was beating everyone easily. So TSM knows they have that potential that they can unlock if they need to in a special circumstance. You know, Team Liquid doesn't have any reason to think they can just do that. So I'm disappointed, I think, to see both of these teams not doing a bit more than they are.
Yeah, I mean, the problem that I see with TSM is like they just haven't had really anybody carry games except for Bjergsen. And the one exception to this, and why I think actually TSM maybe does have some upside, is like a couple weeks ago we actually saw Wild Turtle play really well, and he actually was the kind of person who helped Bjergsen carry.
Yeah, he had two great games.
Yeah, he went 7-1 and 5-1, and then got benched.
So the question is that a burst of Wild Turtle? Like, is that a burst of skill from him trying to keep himself from being benched for Keith? Or are they keeping him in reserve? Like, kind of telling him, don't worry about it right now, wait until we get to
think they're
playoffs and then you can come out.
I would imagine that the plan all along was to have Keith come in and play games, no matter how Wild Turtle played. That's just what they're going to do.
Yeah.
So they're going to stick to that now.
Well, okay, hold on. This was not what you said when Keith joined the team.
No,
All right.
in retrospect, I imagine this was the plan.
Yeah, okay,
To do this and to stick with that. So I don't think how he plays affects the fact that Keith's going to play some games. I think it's a good sign from Turtle playing well. I mean, he's played better after Keith came in than he played the entire rest of the split arguably the rest of the year.
Well, I meant like,
That's
is
not
that
a
a
coincidence.
temporary?
Yes, yeah.
Is that a temporary thing?
Yeah,
or
we'll,
are they-
we'll find
I don't-
out. We'll find out.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, if you're TSM, that's what you needed to see from Wild Turtle was like, he does have that opportunity to like be the co-carry for Bjergsen. Because we talked about this on the international stage, if you rely on Bjergsen to be the best player on the Rift, then you're not going to get the success that you want. Because once you get to the world stage, there's going to be mid laners who are better than the competition in North America for sure.
And the thing is, TSM has shown they have the talent to play a team game and to win as a team against international competition. It's just that if they fall back into that LCS style of Bjergsen carry, it doesn't work.
Yeah, and up until 2 weeks ago, all we had seen was Bjergsen carries. So like, the important thing for TSM fans going forward is like, don't only look at the results, but you need to look to see like how are you winning.
That's what I was saying
Bjergsen
before.
is the only person carrying you, that's not a strategy that's going to work at Worlds, and you should be worried.
Again, I proposed this before. Maybe they had to find a comfort level again after MSI. Like just
Get their confidence
comfortable
up.
winning games again and play the normal TSM strategy that they've gotten so accustomed to. Then they can kind of branch out from there, have different carry options, kind of feed different players in the team. So
Also,
we'll see.
Dyrus is looking up as well. Dyrus has been playing better,
Yeah.
and Santorin has actually, I heard a stat that he is the #1 in all of North American LCS for wards killed. So like, even though we kind of like make fun of Santorin for like not really doing stuff, that's one of the things that you very much can do that makes a big impact, that sort of slips underneath the scenes.
It's a very Santorin stat actually. Like your contribution, killing wards.
Yeah. It's
Far-
like
yeah.
over 200 and something.
You know
wards
why he
killed.
does that? You get gold from wards, so it's just more farming.
Oh yeah.
It's an attractive
Also, like
option.
whenever you smite the Wraith camp, you get the free oracles for.
Yeah, so I mean,
however
he's
long.
got it anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's
exactly.
he's always doing Wraiths anyways.
If it can be
or
accomplished
Raptors.
with like a farming thing going on there, he can take care of it.
Did you know ward kills actually count as +1 CS?
Wow,
I did not.
interesting.
That maybe that's why he
Shows
does it.
me.
That's 230 CS extra he has this season.
Increase your
from
CS
wards.
by killing wards from the jungle.
Yep.
Good advice for everyone, actually.
Check it out.
If you want to feel better about your CS count, I know you do. Let's talk now a little bit about champions in the metagame. Or champions, I should say, not so much in the metagame, who could potentially have a bigger place in the metagame if teams gave them the chance. Now, this is, of course, a potential thing. It's not saying they could definitely be the new meta champion if they were brought in next week by SK Telecom, but some champions we feel, or two of you feel, could perhaps have an impact if they were given the opportunity. We'll start with one Diana, a champion who has actually seen some play, very limited,
Yep.
at the top level this past few months. So what is it about her that you think fits into the meta and makes her perhaps a more common potential pick than the very uncommon one that she has been?
Yeah. So one is like the Runeglaive has sort of introduced her back into competitive play, but Diana in general does a lot of damage and doesn't have to build damage items to do a lot of damage. And we saw, who was it that we saw a couple weeks ago or last week play Diana? It was TDK's mid laner, Ninja, right? Ninja played Diana and built like almost full tank and managed to get really far ahead and do a lot of damage, even though it was a very, very tanky build on Diana, which is like an interesting sort of mindset. She has, like point and click CC. Like it's not actually point and click CC, but you click R on someone and then you click E, and like that's pretty much point and click CC. And it's just like she brings a lot of tools that you want to see from a mid lane. She brings like hard engage, which is something unique from mid laners, and she brings a lot of damage, and she can build tanky. It's like everything that you want. Oh, and she pushes towers quickly because of her passive. Like she just brings a lot of utility, and I think, if we see sort of the current level of mid laners start to get nerfed, like if you see Azure start to take some nerfs, and maybe you see like that group start to go down, I think Diana is like right up there in the next tier. So
I mean, the reason why she wasn't played in the past often is because her laning phase and her early game are not so good.
Yeah.
And her dream of here's a tanky assassin that also does a bunch of damage doesn't really work if you don't get her fed. But now with tank meta, you can get tankier a lot easier.
Yeah.
And there's so many late game hyper carry mids that not a lot of them have, the sort of LeBlanc, I'm going to kill you at level 2 onwards.
Yeah, exactly.
And so she's a lot more comfortable now in the mid lane.
Yeah.
Yeah, no more LeBlanc just rolling over you or Zed just killing you because.
Although
By the
LeBlanc-
way, I want to see the assassin meta come back. Now, if you're tired of the tank meta, let's see the assassin meta.
I mean, Diana is it.
Zed-
You don't
Diana
get to play
is
the game.
Scary.
LeBlanc, yeah, just instant death.
Yeah,
That's-
Diana just destroys people. It's pretty nuts.
The tank meta is you play the game for too long. The assassin meta is you don't play the game at all.
Yeah, it's like people complaining about, well, the tank meta is like I'm CC'd all the time and I can't do any damage. And the poke meta is I die and I didn't even see the other guy. And then assassin meta is like I didn't get to play the game. So pick your poison. They're all bad.
Yeah. All metas are bad.
Everything is
the
bad.
If
lesson
you're
here.
playing
No,
League
you
of
missed-
Legends,
you
the
missed
game is bad.
The
Yeah.
team comp, the team fighting stage. That's the Wombo combo
just group and
stage.
win?
Yeah, exactly. The
Yeah.
curse of the sad bullet time.
Oh no. What a curse. Olaf, a champion near and dear to my heart, actually. We actually seen Reignover, one of Fnatic's glorious boys, as I call them. I do, from now on. I call them the glorious boys, glory boys, if you will. We've seen him use Olaf to some effect. I mean, he hasn't really been, he didn't really roll any
Hasn't been a
games.
whole lot of impact.
Yeah,
But he did win, they're
he-
Fnatic. Man.
He did use him. Didn't really affect the game that much in those instances that I watched. But I mean, he used him. That's a start. So what does Olaf bring that Reignover is just so fond of? Apparently.
So especially in the last 3-4 weeks, there's been there's been an increase in Nautilus top. Every person on the team has to have ridiculous amounts of CC, has to be ridiculously tanky. So this is like the most obvious counter to that. The idea that you can't CC me while my ultimate's on and I'm going to like chunk you through every defensive stat you have with my E. And Olaf doesn't do a whole lot.
Literally no defensive stat. Well, I guess HP is the only one that
HP
helps.
is the only one, but like there's not a whole lot of, impact. Like you said, there's not going to be any Olaf pentakills floating around the internet unless you get really lucky.
not
There's not
super
gonna be,
great gank pressure.
That's
early
right.
on.
It's not going to, you don't have the level 3 ganks that make everyone else quiver in fear. But, when push comes to shove, you can run through the front line and not care at all. And they have to deal with you because otherwise you're going to chunk out the back line. And so then the rest of your team comes in and cleans up. That's the idea behind it. Doesn't always work. We saw when Fnatic played it. But I still like him, and I think he has a place.
Yeah, it makes sense in the composition that he can play well with, and it also makes sense when the opposing composition is looking like a very tanky, very CC-oriented composition. Like, okay, here's our counter to that. Olaf is one potential option there. So I think in a very specific situation, he actually fits in this meta pretty well. But you have to be prepared to use him.
Yeah,
and
he's not like a general pick, but if you can counter a really CC heavy, low mobility team, you can really
you
do
have to be
work.
prepared to use him, and you have to find just the right situation. But if you do,
Yeah,
He
I think
fits.
the thing that's kind of keeping Olaf down right now is that if you look at the two meta picks for AD carry, which is like the person that Olaf really wants to jump on top of, it's Sivir and Callista, and those are both champions that have very strong kiting potential, which is something that Olaf can struggle with, right? Like, we've played games together before. You've played Olaf into a Callista, and it's just like. It feels like banging your head against the wall because Callista, every time you get close, she just gets a little further away.
any melee champion chasing Callista is not a good time.
Yeah, exactly.
Generally speaking.
Well, particularly Olaf because he doesn't have a true gap closing ability.
I mean, he can Q, and if you pick it up well enough, like you can.
And with the nerfs, Callista's not going to be as much of a factor.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Sivir's
Yeah,
still
yeah.
an issue.
Yeah, that's
but-
what I'm saying though. Is like the reason why I feel like we don't see a lot of Olaf right now is because we see so much Callista and Sivir. But like if that turns into like Ashe and Jinx, like Olaf all of a sudden becomes a lot more attractive as a pick.
And I feel like Sivir's a bit less of a problem than Callista because you only have to get through the spell shield and the ultimate. And if you Q her, you can actually move faster than her.
Well, Sivir also gets movement speed from her passives.
Right,
as well,
but if
so-
she's turning around to attack you, then that's like time that you're using to catch up.
Yeah. I mean,
The
for
idea
sure,
is the
less,
idea is
less
to
of an
kite
issue
evenly.
than Callista.
The idea
Yeah,
is
yeah.
to kite evenly, but you can hit her with a Q and catch up.
Yeah. But definitely it's like not the ideal scenario
Yeah.
for Olaf, right?
Not
Whereas
the
like
best.
if we're talking about the next tier, that's why I said I think Diana could be strong because I expect the top tier of mid laners to sort of get nerfed. If we think the same way for AD carries, the top tier of ADs to get nerfed, that next tier is Ashe, Jinx, Kog'Maw, maybe, right? And Lucian. Hopefully not,
not,
right?
but,
hopefully we see less of Lucian, but like Jinx, Ashe, Kog'Maw, those are all characters that definitely have a hard time with Olaf. So like that's why I like that pick actually, because if we do see that cut in AD carries, it's like Olaf has a great matchup against that next set.
Speaking of reign over champions, Rengar.
Yes.
In fact, speaking of reign
My
over champions, he doesn't really represent very well.
Favorite champion in the entire game.
Yes. Speaking of Rengar, or speaking of reign over champions who don't quite look that great when Rengar plays them
I think
necessarily.
that's an unfair comparison to Olaf. You're doing him a disservice.
I am.
Okay, well,
wasn't a great
Rengar
Rengar
looked
today.
bad this game because he got shut down at level 1. Like, he got behind from the very beginning, which is like Rengar's bread and butter is like early game.
But he still has bushes, Steven.
Come on.
Okay.
Just hop.
No, the reason why I think Rengar has potential is because we're seeing like a new prevalence of poke champions. And what you need against poke champions is like one of two things. One of them is sustain, and there's not a lot of sustain champions that are very strong right now. Like when you think of sustain, you usually think of supports like Sona, Soraka. Both of those characters are like not in a good place right now. So the other thing you want is hard engage. And Rengar has a very unique type of engage because you can't see him coming. So he could jump on your backline poke carries before they even are able to know that he's going to be there. It's a similar thing that we've seen with Eve. It's like you need to invest pink wards. You can click R. If they don't have pink wards, if they haven't been diligent about that, then you can sneak behind them and you can force a team fight against a poke comp, which is not what they want. And so I think if we see poke type champions continue to be prevalent, champions like Jace, Varus, Ezreal, champions that we see in the mid lane a lot right now, then Rengar could see a big step in play because he has that ability to like get on them, close the gap quickly, and force a team fight from the other team.
Yeah, part of
Other side of
why
the coin, though.
part of why we've seen Evelynn be a big part of the meta right now is because she affects the entire map just by being in the game.
Yeah.
And Rengar does have a similar effect to that, potentially at least.
Yeah.
Keith.
The other side of the coin of that, though, is that if the enemy does have good vision, there's not a whole lot of Rengar can do.
It can be very frustrating if you're a stealth champion and the enemy team has great wards set
Not
up.
even pink wards. Like, Rengar is in a unique position because Evelynn is always invisible until she gets close. But when Rengar is hiding off to the side of a lane, waiting to use his ultimate so that he can walk in, and that bush is warded, that entire gank is not only invalidated, but if you don't have a sweeper, then you're setting up your team to fail because they know exactly what's coming.
Yeah, well, I mean, Rengar is also stupid in the sense that he can see the other people.
Yeah.
So it's like, the thing that I feel like is different between Evelynn and Rengar is like, Rengar is like less susceptible to getting counter ganked because Rengar, if he's gonna get counter ganked, then he knows it's coming. Or like if the other team, like you're not gonna die to Rengar like as Rengar because the team is like gonna pinch you in from both sides because your ult like allows you to see other champions. So I don't know. I just think Rengar is like a unique character because he allows you like besides Evelynn, a completely unique sense of engage that almost every other champion like can't match, which is like important in poke meta.
He's certainly unique in his annoying factor.
Yeah, I hate
when you
him. I
play
think he's
against
the
Rengar.
most poorly designed champion in the entire game.
Yeah, you don't like being
The
bottom,
rage, the salty induces is
You don't like
unique.
being bottom lane camped by Rengar. It's not fun for you.
Which is like actually a legitimate strategy, like trying to tilt your
Just
opponents.
Rengar sitting in the bottom lane
Yeah.
like for the first 10 minutes of the game.
It
basically.
sucks. Yeah, I hate it.
Yeah.
I think it's
Not a lot of
terrible.
fun.
But
Swain.
Okay, hear me out. Hear me out.
Swain.
I
I have to say first, by the way. Olaf, Diana, even Rengar, we've seen him. You know, I guess we've seen Swain at some point, but he seems to stand out here.
No,
a
Quas
little bit.
played him once.
Yes.
I took this question as champions that weren't being picked. And Olaf's been picked maybe
That's
once
good.
or twice, but he's been mostly neglected. My boy Swain has not been picked pretty much at all.
oh boys.
Quas
Okay,
has
he's not
like
my
a-
boy. I don't play him, but you know.
Quas is like a Swain specialist, and he brought him out once.
Yeah. Okay, so the thing about Swain is that he punishes long-lasting team fights. He has a lot of sustain and close-range harassment in lane, and he has a decent amount of survivability. So he can survive a lot of burst, he can heal up afterwards, and he does damage from close range. His problem is that he has no mobility and no CC that is not never move, which is kind of garbage. So if we were to see him back, it would be very specialized, Sivir comp, honestly probably in mid lane as a counter pick against something with a lot of burst like Yasuo or Diana. That way he can survive their combos in lane. He can potentially outdamage them if he's able to range them correctly. And then in team fights, using Zhonya's and his ultimate, he can punish an all-in initiation team like a Sivir comp, and really he can cause a lot of issues.
I mean, every time I play against the Swain, they always end up being ridiculously strong. So
Yeah, the thing about Swain is that he has this magic aura about him that you forget he exists until you play against a Swain. And
That
so
is true.
as a result, nobody plays Swain, but he's decent. The problem is that he has no mobility. There's no way to catch people. There's no way to get close to them. But we have an entire meta based around initiation, based around speeding up your teammates with Sivir, based around long-range CC. So I think that he could potentially have a place. Again, very niche, but I want to see him.
yep.
You make a strong case. You make a strong case. Let's see Anarchy or someone like that.
Exactly.
came
Just
out.
have Unicorns of Love pull it out.
I want to see like a mid or low tier Korean team. Just try it.
Yeah, the one thing is for Swain, I think a champion that I consider similar to Swain is like a Yorick, because both of them are
That hurts.
both of them are similar because they punish you for long, fights, and also it's they both have a lot of sustain and they both can bully people out of lanes, and it's we don't really see Yorick pick that much either. So
I feel like the difference is that Swain does have hard CC on W, and he also has a pretty unique form in that he can burst people down with dots if he's left uncc'd.
I mean, Yorick can burst people down too. He does a lot of damage.
Yorick's
Right.
just
The
a
problem with Yorick is that his damage comes from 3 sources that are then gone, and the cooldown for them means that he'll only get to use them maybe twice in a fight. Whereas Swain is dealing constant damage with his ultimate, he's dealing constant damage with Q and E, and people have a tendency to underestimate Swain's damage. Even in the LCS, when Quas played him, we saw people walk up at 30% health while they were taking damage from 3 separate dots, saying,
Yeah.
it's fine.
Yeah.
I'm at 30% and he used all his spells, not realizing that,
The key to Swain,
I'm already dead.
the key to Swain is no one knows what he does.
That's the Yorick key,
That's how
actually.
he wins.
When you play against the Yorick, the biggest downfall is you're not sure what's going to happen. It's Yorick.
I know he throws some things at me that attack me.
And there's also
They're different colors.
there's also
ghosts.
the mental block of, okay, this person pulled out Swain, they know what they're doing. If you saw Swain in
Potentially.
No, I'm talking about competitive play. If you saw
Sure.
Swain in competitive play, it's they have a strategy around this. When Yorick Cassiopeia happened, people weren't Yorick, really? They were okay, there's a very specific strategy that they're carrying out right now.
Which they did.
Yeah, exactly. But it's the same kind of mental, you kind of beat yourself in your head
there you
by
go.
saying that
On the loadout, if you build your comp around Swain
you will mind game the opponent.
for the draft phase, and then they'll start playing, and you'll kind of lose.
You'll
that
lose,
advantage.
but it'll be worth
A possible cheese pick. That's
Yes.
what I hear.
A possible cheese pick that
Take that, Fnatic.
It might temporarily throw someone off.
Yep. Sounds like Origin should play tomorrow against Fnatic.
And that's the way to do it.
I'm not saying. I'm just saying.
Yeah, we now know the way to beat Fnatic is to go like a Swain, Rengar, Diana. It still fits so far. Can't fit Olaf in there, I don't think.
Oh,
Olaf top. Make it happen.
Where are you gonna put Swain?
Mid.
Because Diana's mid. Swain ADC.
ADC. Yeah.
Who supports?
Think about it. He auto attacks. He has.
I prefer not to actually.
he auto attacks.
No. His
That's
auto
where we are.
attacks.
That's
His
where
auto
the
attack.
argument
His
is.
auto attacks restore mana on minion kill, and you will be killing a lot of minions,
my.
which means he has free harass in lane, which means, and you can also layer on
Yeah.
an E
That-
and then
no,
start auto
no.
attacking.
We can stop now.
The anti-Fnatic comp is clearly Olaf, Rengar, Diana, Swain, Soraka. That's how you
Yep.
beat.
That's how you beat.
Fnatic.
That's how you beat Fnatic.
On that note, with that fine bit of analysis, we take our leave of you. We are off tomorrow. If you like the show, follow it down.
No, other side. Come on, you can
No,
do it.
that
There
way,
you go.
yep.
There you go.
Down somewhere.
No.
Follow it down there, yo. Follow the channel. We're back on Monday. If you like the episode but missed part of it, or missed Richard's appearance
Word up
earlier
on
on,
the
if you want to
street.
see some shit talking from the first hour of the show, YouTube, daily.esports. Find full episodes there, as well as other great, fantastic content we produce for esports. Twitter and Facebook.esports. We're there Monday, back as usual with Richard for the first hour, League for the second, and that's it for the show.